This is a Marshall Enterprises presentation. Peace, 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 everybody. Grand risings and blessings to you all. The message that I bring to you today is not a good one, although it's a need to know bit of information. I was having a conversation with my nieces on yesterday, giving them some information, and I brought this topic up, of which I forgot to put this video out some time ago. I didn't even get a chance to, create the video, so I'm just going to do it on the fly right now. But we inadvertently do things to ourselves that are harming ourselves that, we just don't know. How many of us love a nice slice of toast, or how many of us used to like a slice of toast? I don't really eat bread anymore, but a slice of toast, a pretzel, French fries. These things are killing us. And what do I mean by that? What do I mean by these things are killing us? Well, I'm going to take you straight to the horse's mouth. 1 second, let me hide my controls here. Move stuff out of the way. Okay. Acrylamide. 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 What is acrylamide? What is acrylamide? Let's go to this page here first. Why am I being warned about potential exposure to acrylamide? Acrylamide is on the Proposition 65 list because it can cause cancer. Exposure to acrylamide may increase the risk of cancer. Acrylamide is on the Proposition 65 list because it can cause birth defects or other reproductive harm. It can affect the development of the fetus and cause harm to the male reproductive system. Levels in food are generally well below the levels currently believed to cause these harmful effects. Proposition 65 requires businesses to determine if they must provide a warning about exposure to listed chemicals. What is acrylamide? Acrylamide is a chemical that is formed in certain plant-based foods during cooking or processing at high temperatures, such as frying, roasting, grilling, and baking. Boiling and steaming foods do not create acrylamide. Sources of acrylamide in diet include French fries, potato chips. Yep, French fries, potato chips. I know what you're saying. Oh man, other fried and baked snack foods, roasted asparagus, canned sweet potatoes and pumpkin, canned black olives, roasted nuts, roasted grain-based coffee substitutes, prune juice, breakfast cereals, crackers, some cookies, bread crust, and toast. Researchers discovered the presence of acrylamide in fried, roasted, and other cooked foods in 2002. High temperatures during cooking convert sugars and other naturally occurring substances in these foods to acrylamide. Tobacco smoke contains acrylamide. Acrylamide is used for industrial purposes. It has been used in grouts and grouts and cements. It's also used to produce polyacrylamide. How does exposure to acrylamide occur? Smoking, breathing acrylamide contaminated air, consuming acrylamide in food and beverages, skin contact with products that contain acrylamide. During pregnancy, acrylamide can pass from the mother to the baby. How can I reduce my exposure to acrylamide? Do not smoke. Do not allow children to breathe tobacco smoke. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services recommends adopt a healthy, balanced eating plan that includes fruits and vegetables, lean meats, fish, high fiber grains and beans, fried foods at 170 degrees Celsius, that's 338 degrees Fahrenheit, or lower temperatures. The higher the frying temperature, the more acrylamide is formed. If you do not have a deep fry thermometer, dip a wooden chopstick or a wooden spoon handle into the oil. If the oil starts to bubble and the bubbles are small, then the oil is hot enough for frying. The oil is hot enough for frying. If the oil bubbles rapidly with large bubbles, then the oil is too hot. Cook potato strips, such as French fries, to a golden yellow rather than a golden brown color. Longer cooking times result in greater formation of acrylamide. Toast bread to the lightest color acceptable. Soak raw potatoes slices in water for 15 to 30 minutes before frying or roasting. Drain and blot dry before cooking. Soaking in water removes some of the precursors to acrylamide formation. Do not store raw potatoes in the refrigerator. Cold temperatures increase the sugar content of potatoes. Sugars are precursors to acrylamide formation. And I think I mentioned this in a previous video about never putting your potatoes. I know people that still to this day, they go to the store and buy a 5-pound bag of potatoes and they put the potatoes in the refrigerator, in the bottom bin of their refrigerator, or they sit it on the rack in the refrigerator. That is a very bad habit because it causes it to starch up. But, you know, this is not me saying it. This is information from the government, Proposition 65. This is from, California. But I mean, it's statewide. Every state has been informed of the dangers. But let's close this out and give you some more information back here. So, sources of acrylamide, list of foods high in acrylamide. As we read before, French fries, prune juice, cereals, some breads, toasted nuts and peanut butter, canned black olives, potato chips, cookies and crackers, coffee, cocoa. Now, what they did in this article, they gave you some alternatives. So I'm going to give this a little bit of time. Sources of acrylamide, list of foods high in acrylamide. Are you looking for a list of foods that are high in acrylamide? A chemical compound that has been shown to induce cancer in the rats and that is classified as a probable human carcinogen? Below, we've listed 10 common foods that are known to be particularly high in acrylamide. For each food, a low acrylamide alternative is given. Note, however, that from an overall nutritional and health point of view, the alternative may not be any better than the actual food listed. For example, milk chocolate, which is low in acrylamide, is thought to be worse from an overall health point of view than dark chocolate, despite the fact that dark chocolate typically contains higher levels of acrylamide. French fries. According to data provided by the FDA, French fries are the single biggest dietary contributor to an average American's acrylamide load. It has been estimated that French fries account for nearly a quarter of all the acrylamide in our diets. But beware, switching to roasted or baked potatoes would not shield you from acrylamide either. Both roasted and baking trigger the process that leads to formation of acrylamide in potatoes. Steamed and boiled potatoes, in contrast, do not contain significant levels of this suspected human carcinogen. So the alternatives is boiled or steamed mashed potatoes. Prune juice. Next up on our list of foods high in acrylamide is prune juice. Although prune juice do offer some interesting health benefits, prune juice ranks relatively high in the acrylamide index. However, as most people do not consume prune juice on a regular basis, it is not a major contributor to the overall acrylamide load of Western consumers. Alternative, freshly pressed juice. Some cereals. Breakfast cereals such as cornflakes and all bran flakes are a major source of acrylamide in an average American's diet. It has been estimated that 12% of the acrylamide in modern diets come from cereals. However, there are huge differences between the brands, products, and even samples. Consequently, it is difficult to estimate exactly how much acrylamide your breakfast cereal contained today. Therefore, if you are trying to follow a low acrylamide diet and want to be on the safe side, it is best to go for breakfast alternatives that are known to contain no or little acrylamide, such as porridge made from steel-cut oats. Alternatives is oatmeal made from steel-cut oats. Some breads, especially crisp bread and toast bread, contain significant levels of acrylamide, and it has been estimated that bread accounts for a fifth of an average American's dietary exposure to the toxin. To reduce your intake of acrylamide from bread, remove the crust before you eat your bread, especially if the crust seems exceptionally dark. And if you bake your bread yourself, use recipes that call for low baking temperatures. For even more ideas, check out the article Acrylamide Levels in Bread and How to Reduce Those Levels. Alternatives, bread with crust removed. Toasted nuts and peanut butter. Some toasted and roasted nuts, such as mini roasted almonds and peanuts, have been found to be a significant source of acrylamide. As most peanut butters are made from roasted peanuts, also peanut butter tends to be high in acrylamide. If you are looking for a healthy alternative to roasted nuts, simply go for their raw counterparts. In addition to being virtually free of acrylamide, raw unsalted nuts won't damage your heart with excess salt. Alternatives, raw unsalted nuts. Canned black olives. Recently, also canned black olives have been shown to contain significant levels of acrylamide due to the pasteurization methods used in the canning process of black olives. California black ripe olives, for example, have been shown to contain 200 to 2,000 ng's, I'd have to look those terms up, of acrylamide. These levels are substantially higher than in many other well-known sources of acrylamide, such as French fries, 100 to 1,300 ng. However, the acrylamide levels found in canned green ripe olives, whether Spanish style, excuse me, or Greek style, have been significantly lower. Alternatives, green olives. Number 7, potato chips. Potato chips, or crisps if you grew up in England, are one of the major sources of acrylamide in the American diet. An estimated 11% of American average person's exposure to acrylamide from foods has been attributed to potato chips alone. Also, other types of chips, such as corn chips, are a significant source of acrylamide. Alternatives, bite-sized pieces of fresh vegetables, great for dipping. Cookies and crackers. Biscuits, cookies, and crackers are yet another significant source of acrylamide in modern diets. Together, they account for a whopping 13% of the average American's exposure to dietary acrylamide. If you bake cookies at home, you can reduce the acrylamide content of your cookies by using recipes that use a relatively low baking temperature and by making sure that the surface color of the cookies is as light as possible when you take them out of the oven. Alternatives, homemade cookies baked at low temperatures. Coffee. Brewed coffee accounts for about 6% of an average American dietary exposure to acrylamide. However, in countries where people drink more coffee and where consumption of other foods high in acrylamide foods, such as French fries, is comparatively low, the share of coffee as a dietary source of acrylamide can be significant. For example, a 2005 study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association estimated coffee to be the biggest source of acrylamide in Swedish women's diets, 54% of overall acrylamide intake. For details, take a look at the in-depth article, Acrylamide in Coffee. Alternatives, tea and herbal infusions. And number 10, cocoa. Cocoa beans are roasted to develop the characteristic chocolate flavor. During the roasting process, however, they are prone to developing high amounts of acrylamide, although the FDA detected no acrylamide in their sample of Drosta cocoa. Other brands of cocoa show significant levels. Hershey's European style Dutch processed cocoa contains 58 ppb of acrylamide. Ghirardelli unsweetened cocoa mix has 316 ppb, and Hershey's original cocoa formula had a whopping 909 ppbs. It is worth noting, however, that in many chocolate products, such as milk chocolate bars, the portion of actual cocoa and thus acrylamide can be very low. Alternatives, milk chocolate. There you have it. The foods that we eat, that we enjoy, are producing cancer. Do you need any more proof? Do I need to read any more? And what I usually say is do your own research, and I'll help you with that. Foods that produce acrylamide, just put it in and go through the list of what you may be eating and what it may be doing to your food or to your health. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your time. Please eat better.